Hey everybody, we are live. I'm Jeff with eBay Addicts, and today I'm excited to have a returning guest coming back to hang out with us. John is here from Side Hustle Experiment. How are you doing today, John?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I've been sick the past 2, 3 days. I'm just getting over it, bro. You know how it is: fever, aching, cold chills, all that fun stuff. But I made it through it. I'm on the other side. I just got a little bit of a cough. Fever's gone now. But anyways, go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience. Tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and tell them what it is that you do, John.
Sure. So my name is John Mascarello at Side Hustle Experiment on Instagram and YouTube. I am a e-commerce seller. I sell on Amazon and eBay. I sell mostly used books and media. That's how I started. I am now getting into online arbitrage pretty heavily. Yeah, and I have a YouTube channel. I have an Instagram, and yeah, I just like finding like valuable books and turning them into money.
All right, awesome, awesome. So John, man, tell me what's been happening with you since we had you on last. What have you been up to?
So since I've been on last, I try to. Did I have the warehouse? I think I might have had the
You
warehouse.
did,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
You
just
had the
got the
warehouse,
warehouse, and I
and you
think I
just
just
started a
started the
YouTube
YouTube
channel.
channel. So it's probably about 4 months ago. So yeah, since then, a lot has happened. Amazon implemented restock limits, which for anyone who doesn't know, they're basically telling you how much inventory you can send to the warehouse and how much you can't. Really tough for booksellers because we work in sending lots of single items in and not necessarily 10 of one item or 20. So that's been like really tough. So we started merchant fulfilling books, which means I store them at my warehouse and a customer buys it. I send it to them through like Amazon shipping. We started a lot of eBay. We really took a lot more time to look up these valuable books, and eBay has just been insane lately. It's really starting to snowball. And then, yeah, I started the YouTube channel that almost at 500 subscribers now, and just really enjoy doing that. Probably more than anything right now.
Yeah, man. John's been hustling both on eBay and Amazon. Just give me 1 second. Let me say hello to a few people in the chat. I want to give a shout out to Rampage Reseller is in the chat. I wanted to say hey to Javela Flips. Annie is here. Says hey, Jeff and John and everybody. Thanks for coming by and hanging out. I wanted to say hey to Frugal Monster eBay. Says hey, Jeff and everyone. And I wanted to say hey to Cherry Picker Flipper. Says hey, where do you find the most books and DVDs, and how do you use a cross listing software? So let's go ahead and jump into it. John buys a lot of his merchandise. He used to go and cherry pick one by one, but now he buys stuff in bulks and gets whole pallets of merchandise shipped and delivered to his warehouse. And then he has this, like, I'll let him tell you, but he has this machine and he dumps the stuff over. So tell us a little bit about the nuts and bolts of how your business runs and operates and how you kind of went from zero to a 6-figure a year business reselling books and media. Because when I tell people stuff, they just look at me like, seriously? You can't make 6 figures a year selling books and media. And I'm just like, well, some people do, you know? So,
Yeah, so I started by probably going to thrift stores and kind of using a software called Scout IQ. Shout out to Caleb Roth. He's awesome. He's the creator of the software. And basically, yeah, I went to thrift stores and library sales and all that stuff. And then I kind of went to a conference and figured out you could do bulk books, which is basically buying them in like this huge box. It's about 800 to 1,200 books per box. Like if you try to think of it, it's almost like if you went to the grocery store, it'd be like with watermelons coming, just one of those like big boxes. Um, and basically, yeah. So I have a supplier. They deliver it to me every Friday. They bring about like 10 or 12. And then, yeah, we have a tilter. Basically, what that means is we could wheel a Gaylord into it, like it goes underneath, similar to like almost like a forklift, and then it lifts it 90 degrees and dumps them on a table. Um, so yeah, and then we start scanning them using software on a computer and kind of start sorting, putting stuff aside for eBay or just wherever it's going to go, buyback companies. So basically, yeah, all the books come from the Gaylords of books we get. We don't really, I mean, some people do donations, but we're really trying to stay away from that, especially as we grow. the online arbitrage business.
Yeah, well, I like your business model. When you buy stuff in bulk, you're not running because, guys, believe it or not, when you're out here going to thrift stores, yard sales, bookstores, libraries, stuff like that, sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss. But with John's thing, if he's get 10 Gaylords of merchandise shipped to his warehouse, he's not spending time and gas driving around the city looking for merchandise. It just shows up there at his front door, essentially, and then he just kind of sorts through it, and then finds the ones that he wants to keep and resell, and then he has another dud pile of the ones that's not that profitable. So I got how it is, John. I got to put you on the spot since you're on my show. Tell us a cost average. How much do you think it costs you per average to buy one of these pallets or Gaylords of books and media? And what would you say your average rate of return is on one of these Gaylords? So just hypothetical, if I came to you and said, hey, I wanted to start buying, let's say I wanted to start off just buying 2 Gaylords of books. How much would these Gaylords cost, and what do you think it would cost, and what do you think they would sell for?
That's hard. So if you're only going to buy 2, you're probably going to get charged $100, $120. So, but if you buy 10 or 12, I think my average cost is about maybe 80 per Gaylord, and that's delivered. I don't have to go pick them up. On that 80, we shoot to at least triple that money or quadruple it, most likely. And we usually do, especially now that we do eBay. I mean, all it takes is 1 book. I mean, we sold $1,200 books before, sets for $500. We just sold a book the other day for $350. I mean, it's crazy. We pay probably anywhere from $700 to $850 per batch, per 10 or 12. And yeah, so 1 or 2 of those books, if you find those, I mean, that would pay for all of it. So definitely adding eBay in has been a game changer.
Yeah, so basically you're saying if I just bought 2 Gaylords, hypothetically, you say to be right around maybe $120, hypothetical scenario, and you said your goal is to try to get 4 times your money. So let's say if you spend $100, to make the math easy, you spend $100, you want to make 5 because you want to make back your $100 that you spent on the books. So you essentially want to make $400 profit at least per Gaylord, right? And it doesn't always happen. That's just these are just dollar cost averages, right?
I would say 300 to 400 because as the average, you're gonna get bad batches. And yeah, I feel you're starting too. You just have to realize you're not gonna almost have the eBay knowledge per se to find those books. It's really gonna take you a lot more time, but once you get up and going, totally possible.
Okay, cool. I want to give a shout out here to Red's Outpost. Sharon is in the chat. The Flippin' Sports guy is here. Says afternoon, boys. And I wanted to catch the tail end of Terry Picker Flipper's comment. And says, do you use listing software or cross listing software? So you can talk about both your listing software and cross listing because you do eBay, you do Amazon FBA, and you do merchant fulfilled. So I'm sure you got a lot of knowledge you can drop on us today.
So right now we will use we use a version of Scout IQ to scan everything, and then for listing we use Accelerlist for Amazon FBA. It's kind of a mess right now. We're using 3 different softwares, and it's just because I like each one of them specifically for what we're doing. So for FBA books, it is Accelerlist. For merchant fulfilled books, we're using a software called ScanLister. And that allows us to print out a ticket that we'll put in each book. This way it's easy to find when it sells. And for eBay, we are just using eBay. So we'll search sold listings, and then we usually just copy and say sell similar and kind of fill in our stuff. We were using a cross-listing software to cross onto Facebook Marketplace, but then it's just too much to kind of get messages all the time. Hey,
is it still available?
It's too aggravating. It's not worth the time for me. Same with Mercari. You have to realize, for me, it really depends on where you are. But every time you add another platform, it's like adding another business, right? You have to account for that money. Now you have to delete stuff. If you're selling on 4 platforms, now you have to delete it after it sells on the other three. Like there's just a lot more logistics. Like it makes sense on paper, like sell everywhere, but like when you start to sell everywhere, you realize quickly like you're best to focus on like two platforms.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So we got to break it down for our audience. How long does it typically take you when you get a Gaylord in, a typical Gaylord, because it's probably stacked to the brim with books and media? How long does it take you to sort through a Gaylord? And how often do you just have the guy come by and drop off? He just randomly drops off like 10 or 12 of them a week, or every 2 weeks, or how does your system set up?
So we finally actually, when we first started, it was like totally random and all over the place. But now we have a system down where he comes every Friday, and he'll drop off 10 or 12. He will also take the books that I don't want back with him right now. And basically, the helper is off on Friday. So then Monday basically starts the cycle. We'll spend Monday, Tuesday scanning all the books and media. So we do all 12. We do about 5 or 6 a day. Wednesday is dedicated to basically like all eBay research, he basically goes through everything. He's like, I think these are going to be a good fit. He makes listings for them. Then basically I'll take the pictures for them, and basically finish the listings, schedule them all out. Thursday is kind of like, we save a lot of books for sets and whatnot and kids books. So Thursday is kind of like a catch-up day to kind of make sets, kind of organize everything, get ready for the next week. And like maybe sometimes like, we have a lot of eBay stuff, so some stuff like flows over. But we're generally getting through everything in full in 4 days.
Okay, we have a question from the chat. It says, what part of the country are you in?
Pennsylvania.
All right. Now, sorry, coughing again. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, guys, I'm getting over a cold. I'm doing the best I can. So John, tell me a little bit about your whole like backstory of how you got started into reselling, real quick, just in case our audience doesn't know, because I don't want people to think that you just rolled out of bed and you were just like, hey, I just rolled out of bed and quit my job and now I have this full-time business where I make 6 figures a year selling media and selling DVDs. So kind of tell us a little bit of a brief history of your backstory, just in case people haven't heard it before, and that way it'll give them some kind of backstory, so they're gonna be like, oh yeah, John can do this, I can do this too. So tell us a little bit of your backstory.
All right, so I worked in marketing for a good part of my life. I used to was from New York, Long Island. I worked in the city for 8 or 9 years in marketing, moved to Pennsylvania to live with my best friend, found a new job here as a copywriter. Basically, when it came time for a raise, we had a little disagreement about how it was set up. And basically I was like, you know what? Like, I do not want someone else like in control of my future. If I work extra hard or work more, I want to be the sole beneficiary of that. So I saw a Gary Vee video. He was going garage sailing. And basically I was like, I'm going to try this, like to flip some stuff. For some, whatever reason, furniture like came into my mind. I feel like everyone always has furniture they don't want or is trying to get rid of it or they're moving. And then there's a lot of other people who move and need cheaper furniture than like what is at the store. So I bought a set of 4 dining room chairs for $10. A week later, they sold for about $40. And then I just kind of kept buying stuff. It was like I had no like market research that it just made sense to me that if I bought some like a table for $50, someone would definitely pay $100 for it. It just made sense. I don't know. And then I did that for probably about a year and did pretty well. Probably made about like 25 grand. And then basically the winter came or the holidays came and people were like, oh, can we get this or that? And I was in New York and I was like, no, I'm like not there. And then they would buy something else from someone else. So I was like, I need a way to be able to sell stuff without being present. I watched a Reezy Resales video I came across on YouTube. He was talking about how you could sell books from thrift stores by scanning them on Amazon. It didn't sound like it sounded like a scam to me, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this a try. Like, I really have nothing to lose. So basically got some software, a scanner, all that good stuff. Went to a thrift store, started scanning books, found about 8. The first one I scanned said I would make like $20 on it. And then I figured out how to send it all to Amazon and kind of get that process going. And then, yeah, about 2 weeks later, they sold, and I was like, this is crazy. And then I just went all in and kind of started scaling up from there. After, I started going to local thrift stores, and then kind of when I was like, I want to grow this even more, I started to go to places that are an hour, 2 hours, sometimes even 3 hours. Like, I make a weekend out of it. Me and my girlfriend would go, hang out at like a good part, like scan during the day, then at night just like hang out. And then eventually I found out about bulk books, and I was just tired of like driving around, and you have to deal with a lot of competition in the stores, and like I just wasn't all about that. A lot of the times it's hit or miss. You could drive like 2 or 3 hours and strike out. It's kind of unlikely if you're hitting a lot of stores, but it's possible. But then I started getting into bulk, and I was like, this is so much better. I got 2 storage units, 10 by 30, started doing bulk out of that, buying about 8. The first thrift store I bought from, I think I bought 6, and it was a total disaster. Just didn't go well. I thought it went well, but then like when I really crunched the numbers, it definitely did not. So I had to find a new supplier, and then I did. And then the world kind of like went crazy with everything. And then I lost that supplier, found another supplier that worked out really well. And I basically were doing about 10 to 12, about 10 actually, because that's what about fits into the storage unit to give you space to work. And that started going really well. And I was like, I could be doing so much more stuff with the books, potentially eBay, or have other people buy stuff if I had more room, and it'd go much quicker. So I eventually got a warehouse this February. And yeah, I got some equipment. I have a forklift. I have a tilter to like tilt the books. They go on a table, and then we just scan through them really quick, basically cut the time in about a third. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at today.
Okay, awesome. I wanted to give a shout out to Paul, the Philly Flipper, is here in the chat, and I wanted to say hey to Yard Sales and Dreams is here. I wanted to say hey to the Flippin' Sports guy, and Cherry Picker Flipper says I have about 5 friends who do the same thing, buying Gaylords of books from thrift stores and list them on eBay and Amazon. I get the scraps and sell them at the market. I'm assuming flea market, and lots on eBay in Florida. That's awesome. Says they buy 15 Gaylords a week. So John, I wanted to talk to you. What would you say is some of your like goals you have in the future? Like, because you already have a warehouse, you already have 1 employee. Are you going to expand and maybe have 2 employees? Like, what would you? Because the thing is, there's curveballs that always come out of nowhere. Just like you have those restock limits. So you may make plans to say, hey, I want to do X, Y, Z, but then things kind of change as we go along. So what would be like your goals that you have in the future of where you would like to be in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now?
So for now, it actually might not be in books. I honestly have been doing a lot of online arbitrage and kind of learning that. And that's basically you buy stuff from Walmart, Target, or I don't know, Macy's runs a sale, and you get stuff for cheap. It's selling on Amazon at full price, and there's the middle, and that's your profit. I probably need to hire 1 more person for what we're doing right now. That person would probably do mostly eBay. But the goal would be to really get online arbitrage up and running and have a lot of replenishables where most of the day, or I can spend 1 day ordering everything and then doing whatever I want the rest of the week. I think that would be the ultimate goal, or possibly even get a prep center where everything goes there. I don't really have to touch anything. And I'd probably spend a lot more time doing YouTube, do a podcast, all that kind of stuff. Ever since I started the YouTube channel, I've just really enjoyed that so much. So yeah, I don't know if it's books, but I think the goal would be like almost being in like having just a lot of replenishables, maybe
Yeah.
possibly get into wholesale, but probably moving away from books.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because I saw that you've been doing a little bit of online arbitrage.
Yeah.
One second. Okay, so we have a question in the chat from Rampage Reseller. He says, how do you go about asking thrift stores to buy Gaylords of books? So if someone's interested in buying Gaylords of books, are they just posting out on Craigslist? How do they go about, tracking down a source to be able to buy Gaylords of merchandise?
So I've gotten sources all different ways. So one way I've gotten a source is I got my first source. I just sent emails to these thrift stores. So I was like, hey, I spent hundreds of dollars in your store a month. I would like to make that like thousands of dollars. Do you sell books in bulk? And one person got back to me. They were just like, yeah, like let's talk about it. What did you have in mind? We set up a meeting. Kind of talked it, and then I did a test buy of 8 from them. I think I ended up buying maybe 2-3 times from them. It didn't really work out. It wasn't super profitable. And the reason that is like there's just too much expense tied into renting a truck, only buying 6 Gaylords. Like it just wasn't. You really have to buy like 8 to 10. I mean, it's really hard to just get one and kind of experiment that way. My second source came from someone in my network. I was telling them about my thrift store experiment. Oh no, actually the second source came from I was calling thrift stores, asking if they sold books in bulk, and the one store I called was like, no, like you're too small, like we only do it by the truckload. And I was like super frustrated because like I was calling all these people and everyone's like, no. And I was like, kind of like I was about to hang up. I was like, well, do you know anyone? Like I was like super frustrated, and he's like, actually, like I know this guy, like he's a broker. Like, are you giving me his number? So then I called him. We set up a deal. His books were really, really good. I think I bought from him like 3 or 4 times, and then yeah, then he kind of like stopped doing it because of what happened with the pandemic and everything. And then someone in my network hooked me up with my current supplier. He was like, I think you should reach out to him. Yeah, just randomly. So that was from like a Facebook group. And then another person I got a source from like DM'd me on Instagram saying they were getting out of the game and asked if I wanted to work with their source. That didn't work out. But yeah, I mean, it's all over the place. I mean, you could go in and ask for the manager, ask them if they sell in bulk. Yeah, there's just all sorts of stuff you could do. But yeah, where it starts, just calling or reaching out to the thrift stores, asking if they sell in bulk.
Right, John. So I got to put you on the spot here a little bit. If somebody is interested, maybe they have a full-time job and they want to leave their full-time job to be a full-time reseller, like how is that transition for you? And what advice do you have to give to somebody if they're like, hey, I'm frustrated. I'm at this dead-end job. I've been here for years. I've hit this glass ceiling where I can't get a promotion. I can't get a raise. I'm tired of somebody telling me when to clock in, when to clock out, how much money I can make a year, and everything is dependent upon them. Even to get 2 weeks off for vacation, you got to get it approved. So kind of take us a little bit about how your journey was, and if you have any advice or some suggestions to help somebody else out if they're in a similar situation.
Yeah, sure. So I made a whole like YouTube video on this, like exactly how the process worked. But so basically, I really towards the end, I really did not like the job. Like it was all right, and then like it just became like when you seeing how much money you're making on the side, and it's like surpassing your paycheck, like it really gets the wheels like turning in your head. But you also realize like you're losing health insurance, you're losing benefit, like there's a lot of stuff you need to plan for. So I'll cover your first question. Like people when they're like, oh, I can't stand this job anymore. Like you have to realize that they're funding like your future business. So like I looked at it like that. Like, yes, it's frustrating to be there. Yes, it's annoying, but they're fun. Like if you don't have that job, like unless you have like a lot of money in the bank, like you're not going to be able to like really go full time. Yes, there are people who like get fired and like turn, but it's very rare. That's like a really outlier case. For me, I think it was 2 years before I quit my job, about 2.5 years before I quit my job. I basically, I don't know, I guess I'm like somewhat decent with money. I was making my paycheck for my job. I had money left over. And then I had the resell. So the money that I had left over, I just like threw to like an emergency fund. And I wanted to have like 6 to 8 months like saved up before I even quit. And then everything that went to the business, I didn't take any money out. I just kept growing and growing and growing. And that's like one of the quickest ways to grow it. If you don't take any money out, and just like whatever profit you make, you buy more product, you get software, you get equipment, get whatever you need to make things go faster, or get a helper. And basically, I got the 6 months saved up. I really wanted 8 just to really solidify it, but I just couldn't do it anymore. So I decided, you know what, 6 months is enough. Like, I have plenty of money in the business bank account as well. And I was like, even if I did nothing, I actually talked to someone. It was actually Caleb Roth, who's the book flipper. And we kind of just went over all the numbers. He's like, you realize, like, if you did nothing for like 12 months, like, you'd be fine. And I was like, and that really solidified it for me. And he's like, I know you, like, you're going to do like a crazy amount of stuff. So, like, you'll be fine. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So basically, then I was like, you know what? Like, this is over. I'm just going to go full time.
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, I think I saw you. I was in the live stream chat with Caleb Roth, the book flipper, on YouTube like a week or so ago. We were both in the same chat. And I was like, hey, I got to track John down and track him down. So let me say hello real quick to Dixon's Pixons is here in the chat. The flipping sports guy. I wanted to say hey to Rachel Strickland. They were just talking about you in the chat. They were talking about your live stream with Paul. And Philly Flipper is here. He says, why sell the books when movies are better? So in your experience, you know, you're getting stuff when you're buying big Gaylords and stuff. You also sell media as well. But when you buy big Gaylords of books, you're getting stuff for pennies on the dollar of what you can flip it and resell it for, right?
Yeah. So why do I like books instead of media? So books are just they have their advantages and disadvantages. I have bought just media, and I find it to be a nightmare. You know, all of a sudden, like in one Gaylord, instead of like 1,000, there's like 1,600 pieces. When you dump them, they don't dump well. They're in like plastic cases. A lot of stuff gets broken. They're missing discs. I have found. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, it could be better markup or money. But for me, I just think books are easier. Media, like a lot of people, like there could be a lot of user error. They say the book is scratched, a disc missing. There's nothing you could do to verify that. Books is pretty cut and dry. You know, you don't need any like resurfacers or any of this stuff. And when we buy books, media just happens to be inside, so it's almost like free inventory. Media, I don't know. I just don't. I thought like media. I had the same feeling. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna definitely get into media when I get this warehouse. And I did it. I was like, this is a disaster. Like, I do not want to be doing this.
Right. Yeah, I sell a lot of media, but 95% of the stuff I sell is new in the shrink wrap.
Yeah.
For one, you don't have to worry about the disc being scratched stuff. Customer's not going to say, you know, not as described or something. And also, the resale value is usually higher on stuff that's new sealed in the shrink wrap as opposed to something that's used. And, you know, there's a lot less of them in circulation. So it's like if they made this particular VHS tape or DVD 20 years ago, they quit making it, they quit making it. So you can kind of ask a higher value for that item if you're like, hey, I'm only person, or there's only me and one other guy that has this listed on eBay. So before we let you go, John, I got to pick your brain a couple times. First of all, I'm going to put you on the spot. I don't know if you don't mind me asking you or not, but how much do you pay a month for your warehouse? How big is it? Like, what's the square footage of the warehouse where you're at? And how much do you pay for your warehouse where you're located at?
So the warehouse is 2,300 square feet. And it also has an upstairs. I don't think that's included in the square feet. It's 2,200 a month. And then there's like electric, internet. It's probably about $2,500 maybe all in.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not bad. I thought it was going to be way more expensive than that, but still 2,500, and then you're having to pay, your employee that works for you, and I'm sure paying your employees that work for you, that doesn't come cheap. Like here in Florida, they just voted to raise minimum wage to $15 an hour. So if you could even get somebody to show up for work, that's what, 30,000 a year. That's 600 a week. So I mean, it would add up pretty quickly. So John, what do you do with the duds? We talked about it before, but I'm sure someone's going to watch the replay and be like, okay, I got this whole thing of buying Gaylords. I got the thing of giving a storage unit or warehouse, but he didn't say what he did with all the duds, because when you're buying 10 or 12 Gaylords in a week, there's got to be some in there that's just not worth reselling.
Yeah. So for the duds, we've actually gotten like somewhat decent at monetizing them. It wasn't always like this. We used to just use Sell Back Your Book, which is a buyback company. We also use Ziff right now as well. They're another buyback company. And then we work with a lot of like different dealers. So we work with someone who does a flea market. He'll buy all the CDs and all the DVDs we don't want, no questions asked. So he's one. We have another person who we put kids' books aside for. They come in, they go through it, take what they want. They pay, I think, like $25 a box for those. And that I could get more for them, but they do all the work. Like we're just throwing it in the thing, and then they come and sort through it. It's really easy. I don't have to box it or anything. We sell a bunch of books to someone who wants history books. They have a history bookstore. And then now we're selling actually small paperback books, like romance novel size, to actually someone who uses them to do crafts. They make something for Etsy. So that's been really good. But yeah, most of these, so probably people are like, how do you find these people? And it's mostly Facebook Marketplace. We just post, I've posted like pictures of Gaylords to be like, hey, we have all sorts of books. We're looking for a partner. Let me know what kind of books you want, and maybe we can work something out. Like we're really looking for someone to buy in bulk. Like we're not doing one at a time. And then like every once in a while, like someone will message me, be like, hey, do you have any of this? Or we're looking for that. And yeah, sometimes we strike a deal, sometimes we don't. But we're probably monetizing the most we've ever monetized at this point.
Okay, cool. I wanted to give a shout out here to Harry Humpstone is in the chat. He just dropped by. Thanks for coming by to hang out with us, Harry. So John, in your experience of starting from scratch and growing this six-figure reselling business from scratch, what would be like your top 3 tips or piece of advice you have to help somebody either get started or grow and scale their business? Either one. So go ahead and drop some knowledge on our audience to help them out.
So I'd say when you first get started, just realize that it's going to take a little bit to actually make some profit. I know a lot of people say, oh, you can start with no money, and you can, but you also have to realize that's really going to take much longer to actually build a foundation. Where, I mean, even if you go to a thrift store and you buy 100 books, like you at least need $100 to get those. I mean, I guess you could start in your house or whatever, but Amazon's going to charge you $40 a month. Like there's all sorts of like fees and software. So I would say like, just don't expect to be like a 6-figure business within like the first like month or two. Like it's going to take you 3, 6, probably I would say honestly, like a year before things are really rolling. The 6-month mark, you'll start to see like, oh, okay, wow, like I could do this. Like this is, wow, like I can't believe this. And then from there, like it does get easier. I will say that. So you just got to realize that, hey, I would also say to that, like it's a business. It's not like just something you do. So you have to treat it like a business. Like it's not like, oh, like I sometimes like, no, you do it every day. You're professional, like you have software, like you track the money, like you have a separate, like it's a business. It's not, and I mean, it could be a hobby for some, but if you want to like really like go full time, like you have to treat it as a business. So that's number 1. Number 2 is like, you got to be consistent. Like you got to do something every day. Like I did it every day. Like I would go to stores every day. A lot of people say, oh, you only have to go once a week. But like there are days that are like you go one day, there's nothing. The next day, there's a lot. Like I just went every day, and I was always doing something like making connections, networking, or doing something just to move the business forward every day. Even if I didn't feel like it, whether it was small or even I was home hanging out with family, it was always just like, I got to get one thing in. So I always got one thing in. And number three, I would say network with other people, ask people for help, use Instagram, watch a lot of YouTube videos. There's everything you need to know is out there. And I have experienced this. So, like, I'm pretty knowledgeable with books. I've done a pretty good job. And I'm starting to do online arbitrage to really diversify. And I think that's where I want to go. And I've asked a lot of people for advice. And like most of the advice you get, obviously there's been other advice, but it's most likely like you gotta like put in the time. Like that's the advice. Like you gotta search the sites, you gotta watch videos, figure out how to use the software, figure out these little tricks or whatever. And like the best thing you can do is just experience. Like lose $20. Like you'll never do that again. Like buy something, try something. And yeah, you just gotta try and do different things and just realize that like there are no shortcuts. That's basically there's no one lead group or one course. Like even if you buy like the best course, you still have to do the work in the course. Like it's not just like I just can't hand you like the keys to a warehouse and a forklift and like you have to actually like do stuff like to get to this point. So I would say a lot of people you really have to realize that it's a lot of work to like really grow and scale it.
Well, it's going to be work either way. And, working a corporate job for 40, 50 years, that's work too. So it's like you just have to decide what you want to do. And yeah, I agree. If you have questions or you need help, it's always good to reach out to other people in the community. Paul, a Philly flipper, he wants to know what part of PA do you live in?
Right outside of Harrisburg.
All right, cool. Now, before we let you go, John, I just got to ask you this one more important question. I got to ask you. You got to break down. Tell us a little bit about what your strategy is with online arbitrage, and do you resell it on eBay or Amazon? What kind of profit margins do you look for? Because I follow you on Instagram and YouTube, so I keep up with everybody in the community. So you got to tell us a little bit about what's going on with this online arbitrage, OA as they call it. So are you looking for clearance deals on Walmart or Target, or tell us how this works for you?
So when I first started, it's been quite the learning experience. And I mean, I've always been, I don't know, kind of dabbled in it. But for the most part, I just use a software called Tactical Arbitrage. And basically that scrapes websites like Target and Walmart. You could select like, oh, I want to see Target's beauty, and it will compare Target, the beauty products on Target.com to the price on Amazon, and they'll spit out a list of things that could potentially be profitable. It is not always accurate. There's a lot of discrepancies. It's very good software, but like it does a very good job of sorting things out. It's just basically getting like Gaylords of books. Like you have all these listings, and now like you have to go through it and see like if it's really good or not, and if it's what you want to do. So for me, I have found a lot of, I was really struggling to find product. So then I started to look for like media, like DVDs and CDs and stuff like that, because obviously I do that and I really understand that. And that was kind of what like broke through for me. And now like I'm starting to break into different categories. I'm technically I'm buying almost like very, very safe things. So I bought one DVD for like $8. It's selling for like 32 right now. So it's very hard to lose money on something like that. And now like, yeah, I joined a leads group and I'm like starting to look at those leads to try to find out like, you know what, like it's a little shortcut because, they're like sourcing stuff on sites I've never heard of, opening my eyes to new stuff. So yeah, it's definitely been a crazy experience so far. I'm really looking forward to fourth quarter. I've definitely made some buying mistakes, but we're really shooting for like 30% return on the money for most items, unless like it's going to move extremely quickly.
Well, the reason why I'm bringing this up, guys, because when you're doing online arbitrage, you don't need to hire employees. You don't need a big warehouse. Like what John was just saying, for example, that one DVD that he found for $8 and selling it for $32. It doesn't sound like a ton of money. But what if he bought, 100 of that exact same DVD for $8 and sold it for, $32? Now he's multiplied his revenue, and whenever he gets ready to, I'm assuming you send it into Amazon FBA, but whenever you do that, you don't have 100 different SKUs that you're trying to scan in. You would just scan in one SKU and say, okay, beep, I've got 100 quantity of this one SKU. You happen to find, basically looking for a diamond in the rough. You find this one little piece of diamond or gold where you're like, hey, I can buy this for $8 and retail arbitrage and send it in Amazon FBA, sell it for 32. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you make $20 profit or 15. But either way, let's just say 15 for purpose of this exercise. And so now you take 15 times 100. How much is that? It's $1,500 profit on that one deal. So, there's opportunities out there if you guys are willing to hustle. And if you need help along the way, don't hesitate to reach out to people in the community, people like John or people that do this every day, because if they don't have the answer, they can at least point you in the right direction. So
yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's the biggest benefit to online arbitrage. And I kind of got sucked into oh, you got to focus on one thing, just one thing. And you know what? Having the eBay business and Amazon business has been having the eBay part has just been a lifesaver when it came to the restock limits. I mean, it's harder because you have 3 different businesses, but it's totally worth it. And yeah, like you said with the OA, I will say it has been very, very hard to find stuff, which is good and bad because a lot of people will quit because it's annoying. And but once you find something that you can reorder, I think I'm on for one product, I've already reordered it 3 times. And it's literally just going into my cart and be I want to reorder this again. It's just so easy. You can't, what you said, with this online arbitrage stuff, if you find something in an hour, you could find I don't know, $200-$300, $400 in profit, and then it just arrives at your door, and then you send it to Amazon. You can't really get through a Gaylord of books in an hour. So it's really much more scalable.
Yeah, and it's kind of a thankless gig, and it's pretty everything's already spelled out for you. Buy it at $8, you sell it for $32. There's no oh, let me think about it. You're not having to fight through a crowd of people at a yard sale. It's you click a mouse and it shows up at your front door, and then you just take it, repackage it, scan in the barcodes, and then send it in Amazon FBA, and just sit back and collect the money. So, anyways, I want to give a shout out real quick to Urban Foster and. Paul Philly Flipper says, anytime someone asks me a question, I tell them to ask Jeff. That's funny. So Urban Foster's coming to us all the way from Australia, so I wanted to give you a shout out. Yeah, so hey John, I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us today. Tell everybody where they can find you at on YouTube and Instagram. I have all your links down below, but you're almost to 500 subscribers. I want to see you hit 1,000.
Yeah, that's the goal, to hit 1,000. I'm Side Hustle Experiment on Instagram, and I'm also Side Hustle Experiment on YouTube. And yeah, definitely come along, ask questions, subscribe to the YouTube. Yeah, I definitely want to get that up, and definitely really want to spend more time on the YouTube channel and doing stuff.
Yeah. It's going to happen. It's going to happen over time, bro. Just like we talked about earlier. When it's time, it's time. So do you have any words of wisdom or final thoughts you can leave our audience with? Go by and check them out. YouTube, Instagram, all the links are down below in the description. But do you have any words of wisdom, final thoughts? Go ahead, John.
I would just say, just get started. I mean, a lot of people, I get so many questions on Instagram now. It's getting hard to keep up with that. But it's a lot of people are asking questions that they don't need to worry about. Just get started. It doesn't matter what color pen you're using. It just doesn't matter. Just go watch a couple YouTube videos, go buy some stuff, and test it out. I'm not saying just go randomly buy stuff. Obviously, you'll watch YouTube videos, they kind of tell you what to do or what to look for, or an app to have. But I will definitely say that don't be afraid to subscribe to a software, because it's gonna make your life much easier. 2, it's a business. Like, you want to be quicker. It's going to give you a better chance. Like, if you're just like scanning with the seller app, yeah, you could do it, but like, it's much, much harder to find stuff. It's better to have like something like Keepa or like a scanning program and just kind of go for it. Just be like, hey, I'm going to experiment, spend $50 and see what happens in a month. Like, and kind of go from there. Don't overthink it.
Right. All right. Well, hey, we appreciate you coming on and hanging out with me. And hopefully next time I talk to you, it'll be, after New Year's and fourth quarter will be over with. And you'll be like, hey, I'm at 1,000 subscribers now. And you'll be killing it with OA and be killing it with your book selling game, selling books and media.
My Lambo and everything.
I'm ready for it, bro. I'm ready for it. We're going to have to, I'll have to have you on again sometime soon. All right, guys, go ahead and follow our guests. All the links are down below. Till then, you guys have a great weekend. I will see you guys next week. I got some brand new guests coming on next week. One of them was featured on the Dave Ramsey show, so I can't wait for that. So if you guys want to come by and check it out, I'll see you guys next week. Till then, you guys have a great weekend. We'll catch you later. Bye, everybody.
Hey, guys.